A few skeptics have proposed Pilate was bribed by the disciples to allow Jesus' body to be removed from the cross before he's dead. This theory fails since Pontius Pilate was, quite frankly, a spineless wimp who bent to the will of the crowd, although he personally believed Jesus to be innocent. He did not have enough boldness to order removal of Jesus' body, since it would have inflamed the crowd he sought to please. Also, we know from Mark 15:44-45 that Pilate confirmed Jesus' death before permitting his body to be removed from the cross. Further, neither the Jewish religious leaders nor the rest of the dissenting crowd would have allowed Jesus to escape from the cross alive. Additionally, nowhere in the early historical record do we find any suggestion Jesus left the cross before death. In sharp contrast, several ancient non-Christian sources confirm he really died on the cross. For this reason, virtually all scholars, skeptical or not, admit Jesus actually died on the cross during Pontius Pilate's reign. Also, no one in Jerusalem would have been convinced Jesus had physically risen from the dead when they knew he had been removed from the cross alive. They certainly would not have willingly suffered and died to spread such a known lie. Further, the disciples were crushed cowards who did not understand or even want to believe Christ would rise from the grave. So they had no motive to bribe Pilate and then lay their lives on the line to spread the false resurrection message of a mere man who they knew had just been removed alive from the cross. The disciples would have been laughed to scorn for their promotion of such a lie. Finally, strong skeptics like Paul, James, Jude, Peter, and Thomas would have never willingly suffered and died unless they had personally encountered the genuinely resurrected Christ. Some have declared the disciples pooled all their money and then financially persuaded the Roman soldiers standing beneath the cross to release the crucified Christ while he was still alive. He was then apparently nursed back to health by the disciples and proceeded to show his scars through the residents of Jerusalem, accounting for the population explosion of Christianity. This theory fails since the Roman soldiers had much more to lose, including their lives, than they had to gain by accepting a financial bribe from the disciples, so they would have never let Jesus' body leave the cross. Also, Pontius Pilate, their superior, assured Jesus was dead before his body was removed from the cross. Further, the crucifixion was a public display for all to see. This deceptive transaction surely would not have been overlooked by the entire crowd. Additionally, such an act would have been especially noticed by the watchful Jewish religious leaders who hated Jesus passionately and greatly desired his death and decay in order to maintain their dominant influence among the people. Also, the false message of the risen Christ would have never flown in the very city where his deceptive public act took place, and thousands of Jews would not have been immediately converted, as historical records indicate they were. Further, all available Christian and non-Christian historical accounts admit Jesus died by crucifixion during Pontius Pilate's reign. We have no good reason to doubt these ancient accounts. Additionally, the disciples did not have the resolve to complete such a mission, for they had run away and denied Christ just a few hours earlier. In fact, most of them were cowering together in a hidden room during the crucifixion. Also, the disciples would not have been inspired to willingly suffer and die to spread the false gospel message, which they clearly did not understand or even want to believe until after Jesus' resurrection. Finally, strong skeptics like Paul, James, and Jude surely would not have been persuaded to suffer and sacrifice their lives for a half-dead supposed Messiah who is deceptively removed from the cross. Some skeptics believe Jesus' disciples bribed the soldiers guarding the tomb and then removed his dead or possibly still living body. This theory can be dismissed since the soldiers had too much to lose. As one scholar explained, the Roman seal affixed to the stone before Joseph's tomb was far more sacred to them than all the philosophy of Israel or the sanctity of her ancient creed. Soldiers cold-blooded enough to gamble over the dying victim's cloak are not the kind of men to be hoodwinked by timid Galileans or to jeopardize their Roman necks by sleeping on their post. A.B. Bruce asked this insightful question. The ordinary punishment for falling asleep on the watch was death. Could the soldiers be persuaded by any amount of money to run such a risk? The answer is clearly no. Also, the Jewish religious leaders would have hunted down the disciples as well as the wounded or dead body of Christ. They would have then surely displayed it to the residents of Jerusalem, forever killing Christianity. Further, the Roman government would have also publicly displayed Jesus' dead or wounded body to restore peace. Additionally, the sight of a dead or half-dead Christ would have not inspired thousands of Jews to immediately and voluntarily suffer and perish for him. Also, the disciples were not courageous enough to bribe heavily armed Roman soldiers. Rather, Matthew 26:56 indicates they all ran away in fear at Jesus' arrest and were cowering in a hidden room prior to the resurrection. Sure, such cowardly men would not have willingly sacrificed their lives to spread a known resurrection lie, which they did not understand or even want to believe. Finally, skeptics like Paul, Thomas, James, and Jude surely would not have been convinced to the point of death by the sight of a dead or half-dead Messiah.